And I'm joined now here on the Final Five by my first guest, investigative journalist Dave Levinthal, who's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. First, thanks for coming in tonight. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. Great to see you.
Before we get to anything else, I want to talk about the big story in Minnesota over the weekend. And I think we all watched with a lot of shock and a lot of horror. And now we're getting a little more information into what happened. The reaction has been, it's been loud from both sides on this one.
And it should be. We came into journalism kind of around the same time to start our careers, and I bet you would say the same thing, that anything that was tantamount to a threat against a political official, a government official, somebody in a position of power, certainly law enforcement, people would have been aghast at that in ways that you can't even imagine now, because it's become so common. If you look at some statistics, talk to the Capitol Police about this, the threats against members of Congress or actions such as tweets or statements that are problematic enough to be investigated have exponentially increased over the past 7-8 years. That says a lot about the state of this country right now, and that should be chilling for absolutely anyone living in this country. I
talked with a state lawmaker in Pennsylvania over the weekend just to get his reaction on everything, and he said, you know, the media, they don't, if we knew a quarter of the threats that they get in those positions, and it said it's gotten worse. And again,
without question,
it's unbelievable, but tough to see that. But the business of politics and the business of journalism does go on, and we brought you on here tonight because we want to talk about a piece that you wrote in NOTUS. It is about a race that we are covering very carefully here on Fox 5 and on the Final Five, about the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Winsome Earle-Sears, who is obviously the Republican nominee for governor here. Has to do with her business background. And I want to get a sense about, first of all, do we have the article? Can we show you just the people at home what the headline is on that one there? There it is. And it's about her business. This is something that she's championed herself as being a successful small businesswoman. In your piece here, you found some information that stood out a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Foremost, Winsome Earle-Sears, she has quite a story to tell, very compelling. She's an immigrant. She came to this country. Her family built business. She's a Marine veteran. She's somebody who really, in a political context, is going to be able to make a case to voters that, hey, look, I have lived the American dream. And part of that is building a business, and one that she built. She actually took over from another owner, built it into a plumbing and electricity business for herself, and it went well until it didn't during COVID. And what we looked at was, in essence, the paper trail online that exists from this business. And the reviews were not that great. And this is something that, while she's on the campaign trail talking about her business resume and acumen, she's also going to have to stand up to that when you go to sites like Yelp, Jim, Google reviews, a lot of people saying they did not do a good job. She was not somebody who you want to do business with. And that's going to be a little bit problematic, because you can run for governor, but you can't run away from the internet.
Something that you point out is not necessarily just the reviews, but the tone taken by, the tone in some of these replies.
What was fascinating is that she herself, Winsome Earle-Sears, was in the comments and oftentimes fighting and sparring with people who left her negative reviews. And that perhaps is not entirely uncommon, but most people who are running small businesses aren't going and holding or running for elected office all the way up to and including the chief executive of the state of Virginia. So it says something, some might argue a lot, about how she might operate as governor with constituents based on experiences that she had with customers.
All right, so I know from being active on social media, as you do too, anybody can complain. Anybody can go out there and say pretty much anything that they want. Obviously, in times like these, sometimes you can call into question the veracity of some of these comments, or sometimes it's easier to complain than put out a compliment. So why would this extrapolate, and why would this be an issue or a potential issue in a race for governor?
Well, when you're in business, a customer is always right? Well, not in this case with Winsome Earle-Sears, and she made it very clear that the customers were often very, very wrong, and she wasn't afraid to say that in a public forum directly to those customers, and in some cases warning other customers about individual customers who she felt like she had a bad experience with as a service provider. I mean, in the end, who knows who's right, but the fact that she was engaging in this type of debate and spending the time that she did is notable, and I suspect it's going to come up over the course of the campaign. Hey, that's great that you had the business, but it was a business not only that had a lot of turbulence over the course of its life, but also, too, it died. It shut down, and it was after, too, she received a PPP, Paycheck Protection Act's loans from the government at a time when she's criticizing the government for, in essence, policies that led to the demise of her business. Any
response from the Lieutenant Governor on this?
We tried multiple phone calls, multiple emails, and got no response. So she said, of course, a lot in public about how she felt about her business, that she is a successful businesswoman. Those are her words, and voters ultimately are going to have an opportunity to judge for themselves what they think about that.
Well, she did campaign on that last time around. She was successful for Lieutenant Governor, but again, November is around the corner. You can read more about Dave's reporting in NOTUS. Dave, great to see you again.
Hey,
thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
We appreciate you, and stick around. The Final Five is back right after this.